Can you legally kick out your spouse during a divorce in California? Number one, I have 4 points here. No fault divorce. California is a no fault divorce state, which means that either spouse can file for divorce without having to prove that the other spouse did something wrong. It also means that the reason for the divorce typically do not affect issues like property division and spouse support. So that on that foundation, that basis there, that would mean no. At that point, you can't just technically kick out your spouse. But there are going to be some other points here that do come up. Number two, residence rights. During the divorce process, both spouses typically have an equal right to live in the marital residence, regardless of who owns the property or whose name is on the lease or mortgage. This means that you generally cannot unilaterally kick your spouse out of the marital home without a court order. That court order being the next part. Number three, temporary orders. If one spouse believes that living together during the divorce is untenable or unsafe, they can request a court order for temporary exclusive possession of the marital home. However, they would need to provide evidence to support this request, and it would ultimately be up to the court to decide. So 12 years ago-ish, when I worked for the courts and worked for a law firm, there would be claims of domestic violence and requests for exclusive use of the residence. I think half the time it would work. The other half they would not because they're displacing obviously one of the spouses. But it's on a case by case basis. Obviously, if you're trying to get your spouse out because of domestic violence or threats, or maybe just you guys being there will lead to domestic violence. I don't know if that would be enough rationale for a judge to, have a move out order or provide exclusive use of the residence. I suppose it could be depending on the context and what's going on. Number four, restraining orders. If there are issues of domestic violence or harassment, a spouse may seek a restraining order that can require the other spouse to stay away from the marital home. I think sometimes people use these, maybe they make up a domestic violence incident. I don't want you guys to kill me upon me saying that, but I think you would agree that there are people that use this as a ploy, or maybe it's recommended by their attorney to, hey, if you can come up with something that we can kind of stretch the truth on, we can try and get exclusive use to get your spouse out of the house. Does that happen? I'm sure it does. And I don't want to downplay the domestic violence is real, obviously, so don't get mad at me there. But yeah, you can get spouses out. You can also see when I was a police officer, if there's an incident that occurs that we responded to, we can do what's called a TRO. It's a temporary restraining order based on the facts. If maybe there's a domestic violence, whether it's misdemeanor or felony, if we feel like they may return, we can fill out, like literally on the hood of the car, a temporary restraining order. And we basically call a judge and go over the facts with them. And even in the middle of the night, usually in the middle of the night, and they're on call, and they'll give us the approval for the TRO. And then they can then take that to go into court to get a regular, I don't know if it's called regular, but a regular restraining order that's more than just 72 hours, which I think it's been a long time since I've done that, but I think it just buys them some time to get that restraining order. So I think in reading this, just in layman's terms, I think the answer is in a regular divorce, no. But if there's something occurs that ends up with some type of temporary order or restraining order that provides for that, then yes. So there you go on if you can kick your spouse out.